I never liked working the closing shift at the Family Dollar, but at $12 an hour, I couldn't complain too much. The store was located in a rundown plaza in a rough part of town, so we often had trouble with shoplifters and disgruntled customers. Still, it paid the bills while I was in college. It was 10:45 p.m. on a cold November night when I started closing up. My manager, Dan, had left about an hour earlier, leaving me to lock up by myself. I made my final rounds, shutting off lights and checking for any last-minute customers. The old fluorescents flickered and hummed, casting an eerie glow over the aisles. Something about being alone in this dingy store at night always gave me the creeps. After verifying the cash drawer and setting the alarm, I stepped outside into the chilled night air. The parking lot was bathed in darkness, only one lone overhead light flickering above my car. As I slipped into the driver's seat, the hairs on my neck stood up. I had the uneasy sensation of being watched. Glancing around, I didn't see anything amiss, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I hurried home and tried to push the uneasiness from my mind. But over the next few closing shifts, the feeling returned. Each night as I left the store, I felt unseen eyes tracking my every move. Something sinister lurked in the shadows of that decrepit plaza after dark. A week later, I was closing again. At 11 p.m., I steeled myself as I turned off the lights and exited the store. The overhead lamp in the parking lot now stood dark. I had just inserted my key in the car door when I heard the unmistakable scuff of a footstep behind me. I whipped around, heart leaping into my throat. There, lurking in the shadows just feet away, a figure stood absolutely still. Fear jolted through me. I fumbled for my keys, hands shaking so badly I dropped them. When I bent to pick them up, the figure darted forward. A hand clamped over my mouth, muffling my scream. I thrashed violently, adrenaline exploding through my veins, but a muscular arm wrapped around me and dragged me backward. Somehow, I managed to sink my teeth into the hand over my mouth. My attacker yowled, loosening his grip just enough for me to wrench free. I ran like hell, screaming wildly. Behind me, I heard the slam of a car door as the man gave chase. I cut left frantically, sprinting through the back alley behind the stores. The man's footsteps pounded after me, closing in. Suddenly, my shoe caught on a broken piece of pavement and I sprawled headfirst into the alley. A crushing weight landed on my back, pinning me down. Fetid breath hissed in my ear as a gritty voice growled. "Thought you could get away from me, huh?" Twisting my head around in terror, I realized my stalker was the homeless man who often rifled through our dumpster at night. His eyes were wild and feral, glinting with frenzied excitement. He reeked of sweat, urine, and stale alcohol. Adrenaline surged through me again as his hands encircled my throat, squeezing slowly. I could feel my windpipe collapse under the pressure. Frantically, I clawed at his face, drawing blood with my nails, but his grip only tightened. Spots swam before my eyes. He was going to choke the life out of me behind this filthy dumpster if I didn't act fast. In a last-ditch, desperate move, I jammed my thumb as hard as I could into his eye socket. He howled in agony, releasing my throat to clutch at his face. I sucked in greedy lungfuls of air as I scrambled to my feet and fled once again. Behind me, I heard his enraged cries growing fainter as I lost him in the dark maze of alleys. I ran until I reached the all-night diner on the main road, nearly collapsing inside. Patrons gaped as I burst in panting and disheveled. The police were called, but a thorough search of the area failed to find the homeless man. He had vanished back into the shadows, leaving me terrified he was still out there waiting for his next opportunity. I quit the Family Dollar job immediately. I never again returned to that store or the surrounding area, unwilling to experience the horror of almost losing my life in that darkened alley ever again. Now, whenever I'm out late at night and a flickering streetlight goes dark, I quicken my pace, images of that feral gaze flashing through my mind. The Family Dollar stalker forever lingered as a chilling reminder that danger lurks in the most ordinary places, just waiting for the right moment to emerge. It was a Tuesday night in late October when everything started to go wrong. I was working the closing shift at the Family Dollar on Main Street, same as always. I'd been assistant manager there for a few years, so staying late was nothing new to me. Around 8:30 p.m., it was just me and one cashier, Jenny, left in the store. We were starting to clean up and get ready to close up shop. The last customers had checked out a little while ago, and the automatic door had switched to exit-only mode. As I was counting the cash in my drawer, I heard a loud pounding on the entrance door. I looked up to see a man in a dark hoodie pulled up over his head, angrily beating his fist against the glass. He looked deranged, with wide eyes and scruff on his face. I hesitated. Our policy strictly prohibited letting anyone in after closing time. But something about this guy gave me a bad feeling. I decided to crack the door open just an inch. "Sorry, sir, we're closed for the night," I said. "You'll have to come back tomorrow." He didn't respond, just kept pounding harder on the glass and shouting unintelligibly. Uneasy, I shut the door firmly and locked it again. The man stared at me through the glass with a chilling expression. Then he turned and slinked away into the dark parking lot. I tried to shake it off and went back to closing up. A few minutes later, the phone rang. Caller had showed it was coming from inside the store. Jenny called out from the next aisle, "Did you need me?" I picked up the phone. "Family Dollar, how can I help you?" All I heard was heavy breathing on the other end. I quickly hung up, pulse racing. Then the power cut out completely, plunging the store into blackness. I heard Jenny shriek from the other side of the store. Using my phone's flashlight, I carefully made my way towards her voice. But when I got there, she was nowhere to be seen. "Jenny," I called out, but no answer. I hurried to check the electrical room, hoping it was just a tripped breaker causing the outage. But when I opened the door, I was horrified to see Jenny's body laying there. Throat savagely cut open, eyes glassy and lifeless. I recoiled in shock, almost vomiting at the gruesome sight. That's when I heard footsteps rapidly approaching from the darkness. Spinning around, I saw a tall, broad-shouldered silhouette coming towards me fast. I sprinted through the pitch-black aisles, blindly fleeing the attacker. I could hear his heavy footsteps pounding after me, As I ran, I frantically grabbed items from the shelves to toss behind me, trying to slow him down. Finally, I made it to the front of the store and crashed through the exit door to the safety of the parking lot. The hooded man from earlier was nowhere to be seen outside. I jumped in my car and sped off into the night. Looking back, I could see a dark figure standing just inside the entrance, eerily illuminated by a distant streetlight. I drove straight to the police station and, through panic sobs, told them about poor Jenny's fate and the crazed killer likely still lurking inside Family Dollar. The skeptical officer insisted on escorting me back to the store to investigate. When we arrived, the front door was wide open and the inside was completely dark. Gun drawn, the officer searched every corner and aisle inside, but strangely, he found no body, no blood, no signs of any struggle at all. Just an empty, normal store at closing time. I was utterly confused and disturbed. I swore I had just been there, that it had all felt so terrifyingly real. But now, there was no evidence anything had happened. The officer eyed me with suspicion after that night. Rumors swirled that I'd suffered some kind of psychotic break. I was put on leave from my job for a mandatory psychiatric evaluation. I never set foot in that Family Dollar again. But sometimes, out of the corner of my eye in other stores, I'll catch a glimpse of a towering, shadowy figure stalking me from the next aisle. My heart pounds. I break into a cold sweat. Yet when I turn to look, there's no one there. Just my imagination, they tell me. But I know what I saw that night. And I fear he's still out there somewhere, lurking in the darkness.